But FIFA had always shown capacity where they thought the game was tainted to, show that something was being done to retain the sanctity, it would seem to a large extent, of the game. But when
you think that is hypocrisy?
When we now begin to say that, FIFA sanctioned some of these things, it then begins to, or even come up with conspiracy theories that said, have you not noticed that, these top clubs or these top countries are always in the finals or the semi-finals? Are we not beginning to say that maybe there is something, there's a big question mark in terms of how the game itself is played?
I totally agree with you, and you would agree with me that who has failed that? FIFA. If FIFA truthfully paid £3.6 million to Delany and his FA, they have simply accepted that somewhere along the line, games are being fixed.
But that's in a matter of speaking, because it wasn't like they just paid them. Apparently there was a loan somewhere.
They paid them.
It was a loan, and they said,
in order not to taint the World Cup. They paid, if it is true.
Yes.
I come from a legal background, so I cannot just talk holistically and accept what he has said, like and sinker. If it is true that they paid £3.6 million to keep them quiet, that simply means FIFA is saying, do not destroy our World Cup, do not destroy the football on the pitch, keep quiet. Which means FIFA can easily say, Nigerian defender, make sure France, through Pogba, beats you.
No,
I'm just saying.
We do know that wasn't what happened.
You have accepted.
What I'm trying to say,
you have even accepted in your question.
What I'm trying to say.
In your question, you have accepted by saying, would it not bring about theories of all sorts, conspiracy theories of all sorts? Of course it will. If you have paid the Irish IFA that sort of money to keep quiet, then you are telling someone like me who has a lot of knowledge, a lot of in-house knowledge on how these things operate around the world, that somewhere along the line, my fears that maybe some club sides or countries are favored more than other countries is actually true.
But the thing is this, here we are, in terms of that payment, it wasn't an outright payment. It wasn't just, okay, this is money, take and keep quiet. It was a case of, there was a loan. They said, if France won Ireland, we will forgive you that loan. We would not even demand for it back. But if Ireland won, we're afraid you might have to pay. Wasn't it also a choice for the country involved?
But what did Delany tell you? He said, we were on the verge of going to court. They approached us.
Why didn't they proceed?
Because he said they approached us, offered us £3.6 million not to go to court, which meant they knew that the handball was a correct handball and the referee was under instruction to allow the ball at the goal. That was what he said.
This is shocking.
It's like
it is shocking.
How can anybody see, for instance, now that there was a handball going to come in that game?
You'll be shocked, my dear sister.
So
you'll be shocked.
Use whatever means you can to make sure that you put use your hand to throw something.
Let me tell you something.
In the goalpost.
Without indicting my brothers in the Nigerian football community, there is a deep-rooted problem in our football too. And I'm happy Amaju Pinnick, Sheyi Akinwumi, and the other guys on the board are looking at all avenues to fight it. And what is the problem? Have you noticed also, if you follow the Nigerian league, that we have a quartet of club sides that tend to win the league, and they go to Africa, they get beaten first round, second round.
How about the teams that get to win most home matches?
That's my point. Who have never been beaten on their own ground for the past 7 years.
Even Barcelona can keep that record.
You understand? In the real world, nobody lives in a utopian world. I administer sport in Ogun State. Gateway Football Club was under me. And I remember coming to channels, Tony Bitoye's program, many times to complain about how small teams like Gateway Football Club, who are not mega rich clubs, would go out and would be, even on live TV, will get their goals disallowed. And people thought it was hunky-dory, it was okay for referees to just go mad during matches and just officiate the way they like.
Maybe that's why Nigerian football is still paying the price, because a lot of people don't go out to watch it. But what
It's on TV.
I know.
The point I'm trying to make is that you see the problem in FIFA percolates down to even the state FAs.
But what people see, I mean, in terms of international TV, in terms of international football games, they must have some measure of credibility. Otherwise, FIFA itself begins to have questions to answer. In many cases, we've seen referees investigated. In many cases, we've seen, even right now, exactly, they're beginning to ask for, oh, let us have cameras at the goalpost. You know, these are all measures to ensure that the game is a lot more credible, so that even referees can have a better sense of judgment, it will seem. So how then, you know, can we then begin to say that this same FIFA was the one maybe helping to fix games deliberately? Look,
these issues have always been on the ground. Let me cast your mind back to what Ronaldo said a few years ago when Messi got the Ballon d'Or. Do you remember what he said? That he was shocked that he didn't win it, that it is obvious FIFA tend to fix these awards. And these awards are awards that we all watch on TV with national coaches and their gadgets in their hands, and they say, vote now, and everyone presses their buttons to vote. But, I mean, Ronaldo, one of the greatest players ever in this beautiful game, came out to say he was very sure that Sepp Blatter, he actually insulted Sepp Blatter personally on that occasion.
Drogba, I think he said something similar.
Yes.
About the CAF awards as well. Because when he didn't come to pick up the CAF awards, they switched and gave it to somebody else who was present.
Well, after they had told him, and I know more of that I don't want to talk about, because I do not have the evidence to back
in that case,
the allegation. So,
should Hayatu be thinking about also stepping aside?
You know, that's a good question. Mamadou Gueye,
was accused of
one of your African sister stations, Super Sports, permit me to mention, 3 years ago, was hell-bent on fighting Issa Hayatu. He came up with all sort of documents to back his allegations then. What happened to him in Super Sport? CAF called Super Sport and said, we are pulling you guys out of the Nations Cup if we do not sack Mamadou Gueye. He was sacked. The truth of the matter is, even if you don't have any evidence that Issa Hayatu is corrupt, I'm sorry. Issa Hayatu became the president of the FA in my first year in my A-levels, 1988. Haviland
was still there at the time.
Right. The truth of the matter is, when you look around, you know, people will say our president now is 70-something, but our president won't be there for 12 years.
So all of this, where we headed, you see
total restructuring.
Because it starts from the top, and you said it's also affecting the FAs.
It does percolate down. Look, all African FAs supported Sepp Blatter.
And how come they open as well?
A moment here, Mark.
How all African FAs supported Blatter.
How come? Because I watched that interview live. How come all the African FAs and those representatives they spoke to publicly told the world who they were going to vote for?
Fearlessly.
But the others kept it to the chest. So it was just the Asian FAs and the African ones. What was it
maybe
about?
France, that was very funny.
Yeah, of course.
Platini was against Sepp Blatter.
Absolutely.
And his own FA voted for Sepp.
So I thought that it was going to be, some kind of secret.
You see, in all fairness, Sepp Blatter has done great for third world countries and lesser countries in football. I mean, so sentimentally, I can understand. If I was the FA president of Nigeria, I can understand my FA unanimously deciding to give our votes to Sepp Blatter. Look how many times Nigeria in the last 20 years have hosted major tournaments. And for countries who understand the quality that hosting rights brings to your country in terms of the economies and the exposure, in terms of tourism, and in terms of sustainable future development for your younger ones, you would agree with me that he has empowered Africa.
So if that is the case now, why then is it that we're beginning to impute some sort of conspiracy into this as well?
It has
because, as you rightly said, African countries have a right to be sentimental. If he's done well for them, then it is obvious that they're obviously going to be backing him. But on this particular one, it would seem that because right now FIFA and senior top FIFA officials have been indicted, it would seem that African countries too must bear that taint because they decided to go with him.
But also as an individual, I can tell you why, if I was the FA president, I would have been able to convince my FA for us not to vote for Sepp. He left the greatest football personality that ever came out of Nigeria out and dry to fry. Amos Adamu, he was sacrificed when we had deep-rooted corruption in FIFA. They ignored the fact that Dr. Amos Adamu reported his interview to FIFA, to the ethics committee. Go and check the facts. Everything he said he wanted to do for the development of our football, he reported to FIFA. And guess what? Even when you look at the transcript of that interview, he did actually tell the interviewer that we need money to develop, to build pitches for lesser states in Nigeria. It was clear, you know, in the video. And guess what? Dr. Amos Adamu reported it to FIFA. He was fried. Also, African referees. No European referee, no Asian referee in that scandal of 3-4 years ago was punished. Everybody that were punished were Africans. So for me, that was enough reasons for Isaiah to and the African FA president to say, come, wait a minute. If all of these are coming out now, why was it our own people alone that they made Africa to look as a dark continent?
Unless, of course, you're saying that he also had something on that, you know, that was more than the development that had accrued to Africa.
But if you look at it today now, everything that is happening with this investigation has shown that even at that, while the Africans were being punished, everybody from Jacquana to Glaze to the whistleblower Chalk had always been corrupted by the system. But they ignored the fact that Europeans and Americans were also in the corruption ring, and they dealt a bad blow to Africans. So for me, that was enough reasons not to even back Sepp Blatter.
The chicken has come up to
roast.
Well, what an interesting one. Unfortunately, we can't look to even English. Okay, time is up. They're winding us up on this one. Thank you for coming on this one.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you. Well, that's the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, thank you. I'm Maokpe Ogun.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Have a great weekend.